quickly to their decision to gun for the two top posts. She asked them to stop talking about her or wait on her next move before deciding if they should run or not. The president supposedly said last night that he was willing to forgo his plans should Sara decide to run. Good evening, I'm Gretchen Hall.
And I'm Robbie Alampa. You're watching The Big Story. Let's start with President Duterte confirming his 2022 vice presidential bid himself, leaving PDP Laban with just the presidential candidate to worry about. The thing is, the top post is the very point of contention within the party. The juggling act involves two names, Senator Bongo and Mayor Sara Duterte. Maricel Halili has this report.
President Duterte confirmed his intent to run for vice president in 2022. In his recorded talk aired Tuesday night, the chief executive said this is to continue what he started.
Gusto talaga ninyo? O sige, tatakbo ako ng vice presidente. Then I will continue the crusade. I'm worried about the drugs, insurgency.
For now, PDP Laban is still left without a standard bearer, but Duterte's former aide, Senator Bongo, is a top pick.
We're still waiting pa rin if Senator Bongo will also hit to the call for him to run for president.
However, Senator Go insists he's not interested in the presidency.
My position has not changed. I am still not interested in running for president. As I have said before, if Mayor Sara runs, I will support her.
But Mayor Sara Duterte is saying another thing altogether. In a Facebook post, she said her father, President Duterte, confirmed his tandem with Senator Go in 2022. She said she was asked to either endorse the Go-Duterte tandem or take in Senator Go as her vice president. Should Mayor Sara run, President Duterte has been quoted as saying that he will drop out from the election race. Duterte reportedly said this during his address last night, but was edited out upon airing.
Sinulat ko po yan as he was speaking. I quote, kung tatakbo si Mayor Sara, Bong will not run for president. If Sara runs, out na rin ako because of delikadesa. Hindi po pwedeng dalawa kami diyan.
Either way, Mayor Sara insists the President and Senator Go should just come forward with their election plans and keep her out of political talk. But with politics running in the Duterte family, it seems the opposite can be expected. For News 5, Maricel Halili, We Are One News.
How should we take in all of these statements, both by Mayor Sara and her father? To get insights, we have Mon Casiple, Executive Director of the Institute for Political and Electoral Reform. Mr. Casiple, welcome to The Big Story. Good evening po. Sir Mon, can you hear me? Kayo po,
Yes.
I mean, how are you interpreting all of these different statements from the Duterte camp and from PDP Laban and Senator Bongo and so on?
Well, this is election time, it means. And the first rule there is don't believe anything unless it's been done already. Meaning, you file the papers with the Comelec, then you should believe that. But telling stories, whether in the media or elsewhere, at this time, when there is no palpable reason to do so, that's part of the game. But it's not really something that you can always tell it's true or not.
Yes, but how realistic or credulous is it to you that, let's say, that President Duterte and his daughter, Davao Mayor Sara Duterte, are not coordinating their communications?
I don't think so. If they're talking about the same subject matter, I would assume they know each other's minds, meaning they talk. The only way I can explain the seemingly different point of view is that they're not supposed to have one single position at any one time. And this is still part of the game. And people are negotiating, candidates are negotiating. Nobody believes that anything you say now is the final truth.
Yeah, but
So,
in the meantime, sir, as part of this game, there's another character here, PDP Laban. I mean, no matter how you look at it or how you interpret it, right now PDP Laban doesn't look like a very impressive party. Whether you go by what people are perceiving as being disorganized, or by the words of Sara Duterte herself.
well, PDP Laban has its own problems. It's well known that there are factions there, mainly two factions. One identified with the president, and the other with the old leaders, Pimentel and Pacquiao. So, what happened actually was expected because they have different possible presidential candidates.
Okay, Mr. Mon Casiple, maraming salamat po. For the Pacquiao and Pimentel-led wing of PDP Laban, the Go-Duterte tandem endorsed by the other camp is merely smokescreen for what is supposedly their real candidate, Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte. Public Information Chairman Ron Munsayak said in a statement that it's impossible that for Senator Bongo to go against the presidential daughter. The Pacquiao camp insists the Go-Duterte tandem is only a decoy to shield Sara's bid for the presidency. Munsayak also noted that PDP Laban was a party supposedly founded to fight tyranny and one family rule. With a Duterte tandem, Munsayak says it will be obvious that new PDP Laban members who supposedly hijacked the party are not aware of its principles.
These are the other big stories tonight. A mafia in the health department. This is what a senator suggested after the DOH procured nearly expired medicines worth 2.7 billion pesos. Despite insistence of health officials that air purifiers do not offer protection against COVID-19, Cebu still pushed through with an order requiring drivers and conductors to wear a personal purifier. And just like how it opened the Summer Games, Tokyo went deep once again as it commenced the Paralympic Games, even showing solidarity with Afghanistan. These big stories after the break.
Good evening, I'm Robbie Alampay. You're still watching The Big Story. Senate lawmakers grilled Health Secretary Francisco Duque over the agency's supposed overstocking of billions pesos of worth of medicines left expired or sitting idly. Senators also questioned the agency's procurement of overpriced medical equipment. Camille Samonte with the details.
A mafia within the health department. Senator Panfilo Lacson made the assumption when the upper chamber resumed its investigation into the DOH alleged deficiencies in handling pandemic funds. He was scrutinizing the 2.7 billion peso worth of medicines that have been left idle and expiring.
Why are we buying nearly or nearing expiration ng mga gamot na nag-expire tuloy? Ang ini-indicate sa akin ito is probably, and this is not, I'm saying not possibly, but probably, merong mafia na well-entrenched na hindi nabubuwag.
Health Secretary Francisco Duque said they follow a standard when it comes to medicine procurement, but he admitted that the inventory could use updating. Duque said he would look into the matter.
So siguro yung near expiry dito po na nakikita natin, baka hindi lang siya gumalaw kaagad at lumapit na doon sa kanyang expiration. Sa procurement supply chain, ito po ang alam ko, meron na po siyang programa dito.
Much of the hearing, however, centered on the purchase of face masks and face shields. The DOH transferred 42 billion pesos to the Budget Department Procurement Services for the said procurement. For Senator Franklin Drilon, this violates the Procurement Act due to the lack of memorandum of agreement.
Hindi ba dapat ang DOH, mayroon po kayong Bids and Awards Committee. Why was it not handled by DOH?
Meron din po kaming mga pinocure using our own back. But owing to the required volume, hindi po namin kakayanin. Ang dami-dami mong programa ng Department of Health at kanya punong-puno na po yung tungkulin ng ating pong mga internal bid and awards committee. So we needed help.
In the DBM's defense, its former Undersecretary Lloyd Christopher Lau said a MOA is unnecessary since the items are common supplies, a claim belied by Senator Ping Lacson.
What authority did PSDBM have in bidding out or procuring face shields? Because face shields, as you can see on the screen, hindi po kasama doon sa listahan.
The purchased face shields and personal protective equipment were also allegedly overpriced.
Yun talagang direct supplier, hindi na nanalo kapag kayo nagbid, dapat direkta mismo doon sa supplier. Alright? Hindi yung nakikisaw-saw lang yung mga tao yan.
We cannot identify who these people are because we only blast requests for bid.
The special risk allowance for healthcare workers was also discussed, with senators urging that all medical frontliners should receive the benefit, not just those under COVID care. For News 5, Camille Samonte, we are One News.
President Duterte is keeping his trust intact towards Health Secretary Francisco Duque. In his talk to the people, which aired Tuesday night, Duterte vouched for the embattled health secretaries, saying he is willing to go down for his appointee. Duterte insists the Commission on Audit report had already painted a bad picture of Duque, but he says this forms no basis for firing the health chief.
Kung si Duque will offer to resign voluntarily, tatanggapin ko. Pero kung sabihin mo, ako ang magsabi sa kanya mag-resign ka, that will never happen. Maski kaming dalawa na lang ni Duque and the rest of the Philippines, I will stand by him.
The Budget Department has already released the 300 million peso special risk allowances for some 20,000 healthcare workers. But thousands of others who are not directly in the COVID front lines are also appealing for SRAs. Romel Lopez with the story.
Christy has been a public hospital nurse for 19 years. All those years, she has been working 16-hour shifts. Yet, the workload is not commensurate with her pay.
Syempre nalulungkot ako para sa sarili ko. Bakit kailangan ko pang mangutang? Bakit kailangan ko rin itaya yung ganitong sistema?
Christy earns 39,000 pesos a month, but she only gets to take home 24,000 after deductions. To rub the salt to the wound, Christy has no special risk allowance.
Bakit hanggang ngayon, napakahirap para sa kanila na ibigay sa amin ang aming mga benepisyo na matagal na po namin talagang hinihingi sa kanila. Kung nagbigay man sila, very selective lang po.
Hers is not an isolated case. Hundreds of thousands face the same dilemma. That's why a healthcare workers group staged a protest over the lack of SRAs for medical frontliners. They also took a swipe of the health department for its unobligated funds at about 12 billion pesos, included in the 67 billion pesos deficiency the Commission on Audit had flagged. Those not in direct COVID care hopes to also receive SRAs just like midwife Joy.
Dapat ipamahagi para sa amin na nagtatrabaho dito, lagpas-lagpas sa 8 oras, 12 oras.
Earlier today, the Budget Department said it has already released 300 million pesos SRA that would benefit about 20,000 HCWs. This is from December 2020 up to June this year.
The SARO will be released today. It's already been released, I am told. So we will already download this to the regions and to the hospitals.
Recall that President Duterte gave 10 days to disperse the money to medical frontliners. On agenda, the Health Department has expressed confidence that it will beat Duterte's deadline.
So ito pong mga nabigay na requirements, pinoseso na po kahit wala pa yung pera para pagdating ng pondo, mailipat na ho namin yung pera.
Moving forward, the DOH seeks to expedite the next batch of SRAs for thousands of other frontliners. For News 5, Romel Lopez. We are One News.
For the big story in sports, despite the COVID-19 pandemic, Tokyo was once again able to put on a grand opening for the Paralympic Games. The Philippine delegation is hoping to carry on the momentum from the Summer Games. Lynn Olivario has the story.
Once again, Japan did not disappoint when it opened the 2020 Tokyo Paralympic Games. The opening was met with meaningful performances and grand fireworks. With the theme, "We Have Wings," it depicts the para-athletes' endeavor to fly high in the face of unimaginable adversities.
Many thought it impossible, but thanks to the efforts of many, the most transformative sport event on earth is about to begin.
The national flags of the 162 delegations represented were all featured during the parade, including the refugee team.
For the second time, a team representing more than 82 million people forced to flee away from broad human rights abuses.
In a touching moment, the flag of Afghanistan was carried by a volunteer to symbolize solidarity and peace.
Sadly, there are two athletes not able to travel to Tokyo.
And when it was time for the Philippines, flag bearer, wheelchair racer Gerald Mangliwan can't help but pump his fist in the air and flash a peace sign.
No gold yet for the Philippines, so they've got 5 athletes competing in Tokyo.
Joining Mangliwan were Philippine Paralympic Committee President Michael Barredo, swimmers Ernie Gawilan and Gary Bahino, and discus thrower Janet Aceveda.
Honored lang po ako at saka blessed na may mga tao talagang tuloy-tuloy ang support na para sa amin, nagtitiwala sa akin, kung ano yung kakayanan po. At proud lang po ako na itaas ang bandila, taas mo bilang isang Pilipino.
Powerlifter Aishel Gion was unable to fly to Tokyo after testing positive for COVID-19. This was also the case for her coach Antonio Tagibao, chef de mission Francis Diaz, and para-athletics coach Joel Derriada. But the fight continues.
Wala pong masasayang na sakripisyo. Ayun po, enjoyin ko po yung game.
After copying a bronze each in Sydney and Rio, the Philippine team hopes to ride on the momentum set by the most successful Olympic contingent yet during the Tokyo Summer Games. For News 5, Lynn Olivario, we are One News.
Time for another quick break. When we return, EUV drivers in Cebu had to borrow money just to afford a personal air purifier. The province will penalize those caught operating without one. And in this day and age, how does one effectively say I'm sorry? Why not spell it out with cash? It proved effective for one netizen. That story after the break.
watching The Big Story. I'm Robbie Alampay. PUE drivers and conductors in Cebu have begun wearing their personal air purifiers. The provincial government insists on acquiring the device despite doubts about its capacity to prevent COVID infection. Jenny Dongon has the story.
Rather than be fined, majority of these drivers and conductors at the Cebu North Bus Terminal opted to borrow money just to get one of these, a personal air purifier. Starting Wednesday, Cebu is requiring transport personnel to wear one, another measure to combat the surging COVID cases in the province.
Utang na lang para makabili, para hindi mapalya yung biyahe.
May allowance kasi kami, kaya inipon ko pag nabot ng 300.
Others who could not afford the device opted to cancel their trip instead of facing fines. Executive Order 35B penalized violators 5,000 to 10,000 pesos. The implementation pushed through despite the DOH saying that air purifiers do not offer protection against COVID-19. A health expert also shared the same sentiment.
Actually, it was really designed more on controlling yung mga allergens. Kung COVID, talagang lulusot yung COVID eh. At kung kahit konting COVID lang pumasok sa ilong mo, pasok pa rin. Pero to say na I have something against na air purifier, wala naman po. We're just, nilalagay lang natin saan yung kanyang nilulugaran. So it's more on not really preventing viral transmission.
Still, Cebu Governor Gwen Garcia stands by her decision.
If you say that it cannot protect against COVID-19, well, apparently, the year and a half length of time that you have been wearing masks, face shields, distancing from even our own families, frequent hand washing, apparently has not also stemmed the increase of COVID cases.
Garcia maintained a need to step up their COVID-19 response amid the threat of the Delta variant. She said no less than President Duterte himself encouraged her to use an air purifier.
President Duterte himself would have been advised by DOH not to use the personal air purifier that he has also been wearing since last year.
The regional LTFRB will start issuing traffic citation tickets and charging those who will violate the executive order. For News 5, Jenny Dongon, BR1 News.
Expect to keep doing basic health protocols in your daily routine as the World Health Organization sees COVID-19 staying put in the foreseeable future.
Even with all our best efforts, it now seems clear that globally, the virus will not disappear, at least not in the near future.
The World Health Organization says the Western Pacific region contributed 10% of new cases and more than 8% of global COVID fatalities in the last 2 weeks. The WHO Western Pacific Regional Office now recommends vaccinating children with comorbidities and those in places with high community transmission.
WHO is recommending to countries that where children have comorbidities, and if these children are in places where there is ongoing community transmission, as well as the formation of clusters, then children could be vaccinated.
Eric Matty's On the Job will soon become a 6-part series on HBO Go, subtitled The Missing 8. On the Job tells the story of hitmen hired by corrupt politicians. Eric said the original 2013 movie will feature the first 2 episodes. The remaining 4, meanwhile, will showcase new material. The fresh episodes will also be competing at this year's Venice Film Festival from September 1 to 12 as the sole Philippine entry. Regarding the series, Eric said they brought back several plot lines from the original script that were pared down for the movie. For him, these plot lines would allow his characters to be a little more fleshed out, a little more human. Previous cast members like Gerald Anderson, Don Balagot, and Joey Marquez will reprise their roles. They'll be joined by a set of new ones, including John Arcilla, Lotlot De Leon, and Ina Fileo. The Missing 8 will stream starting September 12. Nick Garcia, We Are One News.
Sometimes 1,000 sorries doesn't have any worth, but it just has, literally speaking, as one user has shown in a now viral Facebook post. A certain Mon Mondragon said he had an argument with his wife. To appease her, Mon spelled out sorry using 1,000 peso bills. He says his wife has already forgiven him and accepted his 20,000 peso apology. Days after Mon's feat, another user, Shai Due, posted receiving sorry, Shai. Whether it was a parody or not, that apology is definitely more expensive. A gift shop in Taguig has also put up a money bouquet worth 100,000 pesos. Whether the giver wants to say sorry or simply show affection, that's surely so valuable in every sense of the word. Ubra ba sa'yo yan, Gretch?
Pwede siguro kasi mahaba yung pangalan ko, di ba? So more than 20,000.
Kailangan may pangalan pa. Kailangan may pangalan pa.
Hindi, matanong pa lang, uubra ba yan sa wife mo?
Hindi. Sa wife ko, kukuha ka lang, 50 pesos lang, i-origami ko lang yun na puso, pwede na yun.
Ay? Ang naman pala ng
Joy
lang yun J-O-Y lang yun
Hindi, pagka in-spelling kaya, sorry na talaga, sorry, promise.
Wala naman tatapat sa tunay na pagmamahal at apology. Pero syempre, maganda rin namang may pera para stress reliever, di ba? Well, that wraps up today's big story. Catch us again tomorrow at 8 p.m. on Signal Channels 8 and 250.
Please like our Facebook page, One News. For more in-depth analysis, visit our webpage, onenews.ph. Mask on.
Wash hands.
And stay safe, Philippines. I'm Robbie Alampay.
And I'm Gretchen Hall. We are One News. Have a good evening.